Good morning, all you interwebers. I apologize for not having released a video. I want to say yesterday, but not having made a video yesterday. Um, I just started and I already missed a day. Um, but yeah, I didn't actually have a morning coffee yesterday. Let's just get the product placement out of the way. And then I get to this. Nice. Yes. So today's video is going to be relatively short. I'm leaving for Botswana in about 2 hours from now. And I still need to pack. Yeah. So yeah, today's video is not really that big of a rant video though. Sorry, just checking if my sound is strong enough, although it doesn't really seem like it is. Let's oh, okay, so this is me normal talking, this is me normal talking. That makes no difference whatsoever. I have no idea what that does. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, today's talk is also not really huge rant. It's more of me not understanding why things work the way they do. Um, so if anyone can shed light on the subject, it will be beautiful. And but yeah, so my one Cellphone contract is expiring soon, so I'm up for an upgrade and all of that, which I thought I don't really need because I got a new phone relatively recently in February of this year, or January, I'm not completely sure. But that was sort of, well, I only got it because my phone before that, I lost. Still have no idea how, but anyways. And I thought I don't really need it, but my phone is going downhill. I mean, it's a bit older. It's a phone from. Hey, this is a blog. I can say what phone it is. Can I? Well, technically, it's not. Yeah, cool. It's not technically product placement or advertising or anything. I'm just actually talking about it and various other things. So, yeah. Yeah, so I got myself an iPhone 6 earlier this year, because I needed a relatively cheap phone to get, and that was the best phone for the least amount of money that I could get at the time, and I'm very happy with it. It works well with my laptop and everything, but it is starting to feel a bit old. My cable is already starting to give problems and all of that, so I don't really know why though, but because I mean, iPhones specifically are also relatively known for always working. And I had an iPhone 5 previously, which was stolen, but that worked for about, well, the guy who actually owned it used it for I think about 2 years, and then I used it for almost a year, and everything was still fine. But I mean, with the new iPhones coming out and iOS updates and stuff that come out, my phone is sort of starting to lag behind because the new iOS versions are not made for that phone, and it's made for phones that have better processors, better, more RAM, other features. But I'm looking around and at Android and iOS and all of that. But my question is though, why are phones getting more and more expensive? Like, with all the technological advances, a lot of technological advances, especially in the field of mobile technology, and they on tech sites and so on, and the creators, the innovators and so on, they keep on going on about how new technology makes it so much easier to make better new technology. It's it's a lot cheaper now to make one processor than it was 20 years ago or even 5 years ago. But yet, even though yes, there's new features and new stuff that come out, but that is not worth the price hike that comes with it being a new phone. Um, and I understand, yes, you're paying a bit for brand and all of that. This isn't specifically iPhone. All phones are just getting more and more expensive, and then they just release a cheaper version of the same phone, and that's also still not really cheap. I understand inflation and all of that. I get that that is a big factor in the pricing of mobiles, but um, I can't see how a phone that is more or less the same as the one I have currently costs almost 6,000 rand more. Like I really don't get it. I'm struggling to understand why. I mean, yes, it's beautiful phones and they work better and they're stronger and more powerful processors, more RAM, all of that. You cram a lot more into it, but it's cheaper to make all of those stuff. So isn't the price then supposed to stay more or less the same? Um, I mean, granted, I can't talk about if this is the same in other countries like the USA and Europe and so on, but like for me to get a new phone now, a decent new phone, or let's go with a relatively newly released phone, that's gonna cost me for a decent contract. It's gonna cost me just under or just over a grand a month. Um, to put that in years perspectives, that's just under or just over. I think it's now more or less not what $90 for 1,000 rand. Um, which it's sad. I mean, I'm still young. I do have a decent job now, but it's sales. It's not the best environment. So I can't promise that I'm gonna have 1,000 rand of disposable income every month. And yeah, so why does that cost 1,000 rand? Whereas, like my phone, I'm paying 300 bucks a month for. It has the same features in some ways, in most, yeah, but it costs so much less. Understand? Yes, it's older and all of that, but new technology is supposed to be cheaper. So why does it become more expensive? It's you see the same thing with cars. Cars are okay. The last year or so, it calmed down a bit. But cars are also just getting more and more expensive for features that cars have had for a while, and all of that technology is also getting easier to make. It's getting cheaper to make, and all of that. But yet, it's just getting more and more expensive because yes, you pay for the brand and all of that. But at this point, with a lot of phones, if I just take into account the obvious two um, big names in the cell phone industry, um, at this point you're just paying to be able to say, "Hey, no, I own this." Not specifically paying for a good phone, or I mean, both Apple and Samsung, because those are the two giants in the cell phone in the mobile technology community that is by far doing the best. They both have had serious fails with phones, with their flagship phones. Um, and people still buy it. I mean, you know the phone is not going to work the way it's supposed to, and yet you still buy it because you want to be able to say, yeah, no, I'm cool, I have this and this and this. I get the appeal behind that, and yes, I can agree that can be definitely a contributing factor to the price of the product, but not that big of a price hike, because now the smaller companies, well, they just make their phones slightly cheaper um, than um, than the leading brands, and yet, well, people buy it, and they make a lot of money because it doesn't cost nearly as much to make the phone, but they can put the price up, even though they're not the, ooh, I have this and this. It's a good phone that works, which is most important, I guess. That works. It's just not that label that comes with it, and yet you're still paying an obscene amount of money for technology that's relatively easy to make. Um, for the people, obviously, who know how. I'm not saying it is not complicated or it is cheap to make a phone. Um, I understand that there is a lot of effort that goes into a phone, a lot of design, a lot of electronic and programming design that goes into that. But and still, I can't in my brain see how something that is this big, give or take, is this big, can cost the same as a okay or decent gaming computer. Like, the shit that goes into a gaming computer is insane, and yet you pay the same price for a phone. I mean, let's go with my laptop. It's a MacBook Pro. I bought mine, okay, granted it was on special for around about 13K. The new iPhone, or not even the new one, the iPhone 7. The iPhone 7 cost 14K when it came. I think it's now around about 9 or 10. But still, that's 3 grand less than the flagship laptop of the company. Because the iPhone 7 came out before the new MacBook Pro came out. So you're paying 3,000 less for a phone than you're paying for the flagship laptop of that company. How does that make sense? There's so much more you can do with the laptop. And yes, people can say, no, but the phone is more mobile and it's smaller and all of that. Yes, those are all good and valid points. But if you take the technology in a laptop, it's never going to be the same in a phone. Google have tried to do this with Nexus phones and so on, but still, they will agree that you can't get the same processing power, the accessibility. It's physically impossible to do that on a phone instead of a laptop. So then you buy adapters and adapters and adapters, and at the end of the day, you've spent 20K on a thing that's this size and a lot of accessories for that thing. Yeah, Simba. Where you could have just bought the laptop. Now, I understand not everyone wants to walk around with a laptop and anything like that, and phones are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, but it's still not, it doesn't make sense. How can a computer that is designed to be stronger than a smartphone cost less than said smartphone? Nie vir my begin blaf nie. It doesn't compute in my brain. I don't understand how that is in any way fair. I mean, yes, it's a brilliant business plan, getting 10 odd K profit on per a very popular product. Um, because as far as I know, iPhone is the most sold phone in the world. Um, and I'm guessing Samsung is closely second. But can you imagine? You're selling millions and millions of these devices, and you're making, I would guess, it's probably more, but around about 10,000 rand worth of profit on every single device. I mean, that's my math is gonna let me down a bit here, but that's around about 150% profit. Because yes, the different service providers and so on, they also put their own markup on the product and all of that. But there is no way on this earth that it costs Apple to make 17,000 rand to make one iPhone. There is no possible way on this earth. Um, and yes, Apple has a few magical things to it that no one else has been able to figure out how to do it. But still, like, what happened to keeping your consumers happy? What happened to being true to your consumers um, and so on? I mean, especially companies like Apple and Samsung, and these days Huawei and LG. They can afford to make their phones cheaper. They can afford to take a smaller profit margin because they're selling vast and vast amounts of product. So why do they still put the price up that much? Why is it still so expensive to buy a phone? Because they can. That's the problem, and there's nothing we can do about it because in this day and age, we all need phones. We need a phone um, to communicate, to keep in touch with what we have to do to the day, where we need to go, how to get there. I mean, there's phones. Mobile phones are brilliant. It's definitely a necessity these days. But except apparently if you're Ed Sheeran who just decided now he doesn't want a phone anymore and just chucked it out the window. I can respect that though. I mean, a phone is a nuisance and is such a big help all at the same time. Um, I mean, it took away the need to carry around a mini calendar, a mini phone book. If you like gaming on your phone, a Game Boy or a Nintendo DS or something like that, or a PSP later on. But what's it now? The PS Vita? I have no idea. Not a handheld gamer specifically. There's a lot of handheld games that I have played and have played a lot. Um, like a certain Japanese franchise that released games with colors in it, like blue, red, green, yellow, ruby, sapphire, emerald, sun, moon. It's not colors, but I think they just ran out of colors. Um, but it definitely eliminated a lot of things that you used to carry around on a daily basis, which is brilliant. But why do we have to pay so much for one thing? Yes, it's one beautiful thing that does a multitude of things for us. But why? Just why? Because like I said, I might be wrong. Yes, it might cost actually 20 grand to make one phone. But I can't believe that that is the case because then Apple would have ran out of money a long time ago. Um, And people were always complaining about Apple products being very expensive, or at least in South Africa they have. And these days, it's not really true. Their prices have sort of stayed where they were. It's just all the other companies decided, hey, let's put the prices the same as Macs or Apple's because people are willing to pay this much for it. So we can ask this much for it, take a few of their clients, and make ourselves a great deal of money. And, well, we let them because we don't have another choice. Which, I talked earlier a bit about consumer happiness. It's not, there is an actual term for being true to your clients and actually trying to give the best to your clients for your love of the client. Which I just can't remember. But what happened to that? I mean, in the past, like loyalty was a big thing. These days, loyalty, brand loyalty, and stuff like that, it's not really a thing anymore. Whatever you can, the best you can get for the least amount of money, that is what you're going to buy. So, Apple, Samsung, LG, Huawei, not even sure if Sony still makes phones, Sony, so on. I want to say Oppo, but we don't get Oppo in South Africa, so please send Oppo to South Africa. If you're listening, do that. Cut your prices. Take a smaller profit margin. You'll get a lot more clients, especially in the less rich. Especially in the sorry, my laptop just went blank. My screen went blank. Um, especially in the not as rich countries, like South Africa. I mean, yes, we have a shit ton of rich people, saying about what 40Ks in that direction, um, in Santon and so on, which is the what richest square mile in the whole of Africa. But most of South Africans aren't that rich, and we are still a well, not a huge amount of people, but we're still a lot of people. And granted, yes, you can't really make some phones cheaper in one country than another. I get that, and I get that there's a lot of tax and a lot of shit that we need to buy and so on. But just bring it down. You'll get a lot more clients if you do it. It's always that thing about ask and demand, or what? No. Um, oh, come on. I know this. You know what I'm talking about. It's fine. Um, but the thing is, if you make it cheaper, go look at stuff like Black Friday. Make it cheaper, a lot more people will buy it. That's not necessarily cheaper for them or anything like that. Especially with stuff like Black Friday in South Africa, it's really not that cheap because they hiked the prices earlier in October just to bring it down to the normal price in on Black Friday. Not everyone does that, but there's a lot of companies that do. And then with the illusion that it's cheaper, a lot more people buy it. Um, if you make something more affordable, more people will buy it. If you cut your prices you'll get a lot more clients. And especially with phones these days, if people get something that, even if it's new or different or something than what they're used to, if they like what they get, they're gonna stay there. Um, the only place I really see brand loyalty and today's day and age is with well, now and then a bit on TVs and so on, but it's mobile technology. Um, and like the whole Mac ecosystem thing, or the Apple ecosystem thing, it works. And when you're in that, when you've started with the whole ecosystem thing, it's not that it's difficult to go away because there's a lot of third-party apps and stuff that you can do if you have a MacBook and an Android phone or a Windows laptop and a iOS device and so on. There's a lot of workarounds and so on, which is not really difficult or anything like that. But when you're in the ecosystem and you see how just brilliant. It works. Um, it's just one of those magic things I talked about with iOS and Mac and all of that, which no one else has been able to really crack on how to do that. Um, then you'll see, the clients will see, like, yes, this is just so much easier than what I used to do, and then they'll stay there because it's gonna stay being that easy. It's never gonna change. It hasn't changed in the last 10 years. If you're in the ecosystem, everything works brilliantly. It's just sort of how it works, and it's beautiful, yes, but it's very difficult, especially in South Africa, to get into that ecosystem. It's gotten easier because the iOS and Mac devices prices haven't gone up that much compared to other products, but it's still expensive. It's still expensive to get into that ecosystem. So make it cheaper and you'll have a lot more clients. I mean, even if you just take off a few grand, like 4 grand or something, of your 17,000 rand, what it's I think is what an iPhone X costs. Just make it 13. Make it 10. Yes, you're losing a bit of profit, but you're selling it to thousands and thousands and thousands of more people. So you're gonna make up that profit in most probably a few days, a few weeks, max. I mean, if you drop the new iPhone with a lot cheaper prices, or the new Samsung Galaxy series, or new LG G phone, I have no idea what that G series is called, but the G series flagships. If you drop your flagship phone with then and it costs less than, you can't make it too cheap, because then people will once again not buy it because there's no prestige behind it. But you can make it cheaper. You don't need to pay 20 grand for a phone. That is just insane. That's not necessary. I apologize. This video is more supposed to just talk to an audience, not talk to companies. But hey, it's my video. And yeah, so yeah, if you guys agree with me or disagree with me, please let me know in the comment section below. Honestly, this is a topic that I enjoy talking about quite a lot. That's why I said it's not really a rant, it's more of a soundboarding type vibes. Wow, vibes. Anyways. And just to get my opinion across, essentially, and stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys have any insights or what is your opinion? What is your opinion on the prices of mobile phones these days? And I almost want to say, what phone would you recommend, but I don't have a big enough fan base to do that yet. Yeah, if you want to recommend a phone, by all means do it. I'm probably going to disregard most of them because there's going to be a lot of people that say, if I want a cheap phone, just get a cheap phone instead of getting a flagship. But yeah, no, I still want a decent phone. I don't want some cheapie that doesn't do anything. Then I might as well just stay with the phone that I have at this current moment. So yeah. Cool. So that is sort of, I think that's been my piece for today. My next videos will probably come out only on Monday, maybe Tuesday, because like I said, I'm gonna be in Botswana for the weekend, and data there is very, very, very expensive. So yeah, I'm gonna try and make videos as much as I possibly can while I'm there, meaning, well, 2. But I can't promise anything because I'm not sure how everything's gonna work when I'm there. or if I'm gonna have time, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so please like, comment, subscribe. Any suggestions on how to make the videos better? I mean, this is my second video in this format. I have a few song videos and so on where I play guitar or sing or something, but that's on a completely different channel. That's on what Flip Flop Guitarist on YouTube. I think there's only one video still up there though. And yeah, so please like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Maybe share with your friends to get a bigger fan base. For me, not for you necessarily. But hey, the more fans I have, the more I can maybe do giveaways and stuff like that for you guys. Yeah, so I've been Bearclaw. You are hopefully watching, and I wanted to do the whole downing a cup of coffee at the end of every video, but there's a little too much coffee left. So I'll try to be more consistent about that at the end of the videos. But yeah, I've been Bearclaw. This has been Bearclaw's Morning Coffee. I'll check you guys when I check you guys. No, I'm not. Yeah. Hopefully, oh wait, this video is only gonna drop probably on Monday. Yeah, so, yes, then I'll see you guys on Tuesday, where I'm gonna hopefully be uploading the video that I made on Saturday. Yeah, cool.